By explaining that when you give these prompts, partners will turn to face each other and begin talking. When you signal by raising your hand, partners will finish what they are saying and turn their attention back to you. Practice this several times before teaching this lesson. Whatever your attention signal, use it consistently so that it becomes a well-tuned practice for all students. Read aloud one or more books about leaves and discuss them as a class. Some possible titles we are going on: Leaf Hunt by Steve Masker's Leaf Man by Louis Albert, and by Two Leaves Change Colors by Bethy Mastro. Lesson 1. Introduce a lesson and review words about leaves. Guided to class with partners sitting together. Show covers of the books about leaves and the students have heard recently, and ask a question here. We've been reading about leaves. What do you know about leaves? Then turn to your partner. Scan the class as partners talk. After a few moments, a signal for attention, restate the question, and have the two peers shared with the class. Then ask them, what are some words we've read and heard to describe leaves? As students offer suggestions, or record them in large print on chart papers. For example, words about leaves: long, round, brown, green, red, greenly, smooth, sharp. 2. Explain the activity. Show a package of leaves and explain that it contains 4 leaves. Take out 2 leaves and discuss the following questions. Whole of 1 leaf. What are some words that could describe this leaf? All of a second leaf. What are some words that could describe this leaf? What are some ways these 2 leaves are alike? What are some ways these 2 leaves are different? Turn to your partner. So look at the teacher's note here. Keep this discussion moving by calling on just 1-2 students to respond to each question during the whole class sharing. Teacher listening directly by saying Anna is going to share now. Let's all turn and give her our attention. Explain that each peer will receive a package of leaves. Their job is to observe or look at the leaves together and talk about how the leaves are alike and different. Encourage students to use words on the chat and any other words they can think of to describe the leaves. Before distributing materials and beginning the activity, briefly discuss what will you do to work well with your partner today. Number 3, have peers work together to explore the leaves. Distribute the package of leaves and have peers return to their desk and begin. As peer work, calculate, observe, and assess. Teacher's note. Try not to interrupt peers as they work. Intervene only if partners are having difficulty that they cannot resolve on their own. Class assessments. Observe peers as they work and note for yourself. Do students use vocabulary they have learned to describe the leaves? Do they discuss similarities and differences among the leaves? Are partners sharing materials fairly? If not, how do they try to resolve this? Number 4, it's optional. Have peers choose and draw 2 leaves each one. As peer work, distribute paper, pencils, and crayons to each peer. Use your attention signal and explain that you would like partners to choose 2 of their leaves to draw. Before starting, briefly discuss as a class, what will you and your partner do to share this work fairly? 5, reflect on the lesson, collect all materials, gather the class with partners sitting together, ask and discuss as a class. What did you learn about leaves today that you didn't know before? What are some ways that your leaves were alike, and different? Teacher's note here. During this discussion, encourages students to use the discussion prompts I agree with, because I have a different idea, because in addition to what said plus I think briefly explain that when people look for ways that things are alike and different, they are comparing them, right? The word where everyone it's a background noise here, so I have to turn off my mic. Academy focused student reflects on what they have learned about different countries and make a decision about another country they want to study as a group. SEL focused students contribute responsibly to group work and make shared decisions. SEL course competencies, cell management, social awareness, responsible decision making, material class world map, and all a globe, a copy of world map for each peer, papers and pencils for peers and groups. Before the lesson, students will work in groups of 4 in this lesson. Make sure they have had ample practice working successfully in peers before having them work in groups over several days. Read aloud books and others information about several different countries and cultures of the world, include countries in Africa, the Americas, Asia, and Europe, and Australia, both country and a continent. Peer students and give partners a few minutes to connect and get to know each other. You may need to create a group of 3, review or teach think peer share by explaining that in this strategy you will ask a question, then give students a few quiet moments to think before talking. When you say turn to your partner, they will turn to face each others and talk. When you signal by raising your hand, um, partners will finish what they are saying, and then the attention back to you. Have students practice before this lesson. The lesson number 1, introduce lesson, have partners sit together, remind the students that they have been reading about different countries and cultures of the world, referring to the class well map and briefly discuss what are some countries we've learned about recently. What is that country? What are some things we've learned about that country? Teachers note that this lesson is designed to begin a series of lessons in which students work in groups to study a chosen country. Explain that in the coming days, students will work in their groups to explore another country of their choice, and then teach their classmates what they have learned about what that country and its cultures. To identify countries of interest in peers as